Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. Is breakfast included? I don't know why I did that. I just felt a little bit spontaneous. That's my shitty British accent. Anyway, don't mind all the hammering in the background. They're doing construction on this hotel, which ironically they didn't start doing until I started recording. So I don't know. Maybe they don't like me. I'm coming to you today from sunny London, and today it was sunny. I got out for about 5 minutes, did laundry, and then came back. So I've just been sitting in this room all day. Anyway, today's guest, it was a really treat for me. He's one of my heroes. I got to talk to Jason McMaster. That's right, the Pastor McMaster of the Church of Disaster. Jason is a bit of everything. He's a singer, songwriter, bassist. He's a vocal coach at the School of Rock, Austin, Texas. He's the host of the Talk Louder podcast. Like I said, he has his hands in everything. He's also fronted some of my favorite bands, Broken Teeth, Watchtower, and Dangerous Toys. You guys remember Dangerous Toys, right? Hey man, I think I like being scared, and I wish you all were there. Sorry you guys had to hear that, but you can't mention the Toys, man, without breaking into that song, right? Goddamn, I don't know what's wrong with me today. Anyway, it was a great conversation, man. We talked about his early days in Corpus Christi, how he got to where he is now, Watchtower, the Toys, touring, his podcast, a little bit of everything. He even told me what he liked for breakfast and then went into great detail about it. I also promised him a signed Duran Duran picture, which I think he thinks that I'm going to forget, but I'm going to make good on that. Anyway, we had a lot of fun, and I hope you dig it. Let's check it out.
Yeah. It says you're a bass tech for Duran Duran. Is that right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I've been
still right now?
Yeah. I've been working for John since 2011. I actually leave tomorrow.
Holy. Wow.
I leave tomorrow
I'm a big fan. I mean, I don't sit around and listen to the records, but I love that shit. Seven and the Ragged Tiger was fucking shit.
Yeah, great album.
Oh, so yeah. Oh my God. I didn't appreciate that 80s pop, that British 80s pop, dancey, dare I say hard rock until after the Big Bang, being a heavy metal guy, they don't know that I grew up on Queen and Elton John. We'll keep going with, David Bowie and Alice Cooper and all that shit. You start looking around at the suite and all that stuff that you get into, the Brits. That's what Duran Duran is doing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they're derived from punk rock, man.
Exactly. And Simon singing his ass off, and no singers would stand up and go, "Oh my God, Simon Le Bon is a fucking singing motherfucker." They don't. No one says that, dude. Yeah. He can sing anything. Well, that's really cool, man. Good starting point for this, I guess, just to kind of get familiar. But that's kind of mind blowing, just because of the tenor those guys have, songwriting capabilities.
Yeah.
I've been teaching for School of Rock for 16 years. I know, a long time. And they're letting me I requested that I threw this in the hat, and I got a bite. They're sometimes, because I'm a show director as well.
Uh-huh.
And they're letting me do a James Bond show, the songs of James Bond film. And we're going to do View to a Kill. So first we have to.
Nice.
And it's going to be, we'll do a rocked up version of it,
Right on, man.
But I'm super excited about that. Yeah, because, I mean, everyone from Madonna, Shirley Manson, Billie Eilish, to Jack White, Alicia Keys, Chris Cornell, keep going. But I'm also going to do Goldfinger and shit, too. So
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Seeing 13-year-olds play James Bond film score songs is going to be really awesome.
Right on. Well, man, before we get started, that's a great starting point, like you said. But, man, tell everyone who you are.
Yep. Hello, my name is Jason McMaster. I am a singer-songwriter from Austin, Texas.
Right on. Hey man, thanks for doing this. You know, when I reached out to you, it was hit or miss with you, and I'm glad you responded and agreed to do this.
I'm glad that you reached out. To be straight up, I mean, you kind of, gave me a bit of a synopsis, and I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Why does he want to talk to me? So
Because you're Pastor McMaster of the Church of Disaster, man.
Nice, thank you. But don't think of me, responding with that, with what I just, said as a negative at all. So.
No. Man, how did you get started in this whole heavy metal racket? When did it happen for you? And who was the conduit?
Wow, great question. I grew up in South Texas, Corpus Christi, Gulf of Mexico. Concerts were popular in the 70s. I mean, that's what all of my brothers and friends wanted to do, is go see concerts. When I was old enough to finally go, it's an interesting sort of like backlash. I didn't really end up going to a lot of concerts until I was about 12 or 13. But I had already started playing bass guitar by like 11, 12, around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a big Kiss fan. I grew up on Queen and Elton John. Elton John was probably my first rock group that I started collecting 12-inch LPs for. And then my older brother's record collections were always these phenomenal collections of just all kinds of music, but mainly rock music. So that was kind of like how I really found out. I mean, I found out about Elton John from the babysitter across the street. It was weird. I was like a little kid. I'm like, what is this? I'm talking like I'm 5 years old or something,
Yeah.
What is this? And it was, it might have been, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road or something that she was playing. And I was like, this is really cool. What is, so I just started saving my lunch money, over the years and buying whatever Elton John shit I could find. And I was hooked, and I had this huge stack of Elton records. I'm super proud of it. And then some of my neighborhood friends were sneaking into their older brothers' record collections too. My older brothers didn't have any Kiss records for some interesting reason I never figured out. But the neighborhood kids, their older brothers, hey, check this out. And I was over there, and I'm holding the record cover, listening to Kiss Alive, going, holy Jesus, these guys are having all the fun. What the hell what am I missing out on? My whole, 11-year-old brain, right? And I immediately went and found, I think I bought Hotter Than Hell because it was cheaper than Kiss Alive, being a double album and everything. And I was like, well, some of these songs are on the live record. I'll just get this. And I was hooked. So of course, I got a live right after that, and I ended up with the first 3 records. And then I was hooked. And Elton took a break for a while. I had Kiss posters everywhere. And, Elton was Kiss was, pre-proto metal, kind of like glam New York, the whole New York thing, and which I knew nothing about, so they were a total gateway. But Elton was wearing all the crazy clothes and the high heel boots and all that too. And, I was into Queen, and they were glammed out too, but Queen was very heavy metal too.
Yeah.
They were playing Drop D songs in 72, it was kind of weird. And, the White Album, but, Night at the Opera, there's heavy metal songs on there. Death on Two Legs and Prophet Song. Those are heavy metal songs. Those are like doom and gloom, and it freaked me out, and I was very, very attracted to that. But then I heard Kiss, and I was like, wait a minute, this is like Batman, Star Wars, this is heavy metal and comic books and Star Wars,
All
the
in
whole
one.
thing in one pack. Oh yeah, everything that you want. Like you're going to hell tomorrow if you buy this, and I loved it. So that was the conduit. It was all, I blame it all on Gene Simmons and Freddie Mercury and Elton John.
And so that's it. That you had your mind set on being a rock and roll enthusiast.
My first concert was in '77. It was UFO opening for Rush. And that blew my mind, and I shed tears, and it was like an epiphany, right? And just a little kid. I was like, this is like church for me. This is fellowship. This is, the smell of shitty weed and tipsy people going nuts, singing all the songs and standing on their seats and falling over and losing their mind. I was just like, this is hedonistic and celebratory and Merry Christmas to me all at one time. And I was just, it was, like I said, I can't say it any better way. It was like church.
And how
so
soon?
I was like, I got to figure out how those guys on the stage are creating this magic, because I thought it was magic.
And how soon after that did you decide you wanted to be on stage?
Well, at first I didn't want to, I wanted to be on stage, but I did really want to know how to play some songs before I got up there. Unfortunately, I was on stage before I knew how to play, really. I went to this, I'm not even Catholic, and I went to this Catholic school across the street from my house. It was very convenient, even though it was a paid tuition kind of thing, lower middle class family. But it was good education, and I was close to home, and busing to public schools had just started. It was the 70s. Ended up going over there. They didn't like my long hair. They wouldn't let me wear my Kiss t-shirts. But, all my teachers were nuns. They made me take a course, a religion class. They made me take communion. I'm not even Catholic. I didn't even know what was going on. It was all like, okay, whatever. I was a poser Catholic for a year or two. It was fucked up, man. Anyway, they showed me abortion photos. I took them to my mom. My mom marched over there and kicked their ass. It was like, why are you showing bloody fetus photos to my son? Dude, it was fucked up. Totally. It scared me to death. Going over there was fucked up. Anyway, the best part about going to that Catholic school was they had this like talent show type of a thing, and they did it every year on the stage in the gymnasium. Well, I always wanted to get on that stage when I had PE class, but I didn't have any reason to get on that stage until talent show. Me and my little buddies at the Catholic school, I was like, dude, why don't we dress up like Kiss and just play the records and pantomime to the songs, and I'll make all the costumes and shit. They were like, dude, that sounds awesome. So I talked all these guys into doing it, and I was Gene Simmons both years. I think I had a different Paul Stanley 2 years in a row, and a different group of guys 2 years in a row. And there was some high school, because that was like 7th or 8th grade or something for me. But there was it was like grade 1 all the way to 12th grade at this school. And there was some high schoolers that were also doing it. Their costumes were better. They were pantomiming as well, but their costumes were better. Their equipment was better, blah, 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 blah. And I befriended them as well. So Kiss was popular in Corpus Christi. They were taking over the world back then, weren't they?
Yeah.
So I did that, and that's my first time on stage ever, was that.
Were you hooked?
I have pictures. It's so stupid looking.
I think we all have those experiences of being on stage not knowing how to play. It's funny you talked about the Catholic school. Like I'm Hispanic, so everyone in my town thought I was Catholic, so I would just not go to school on the Catholic holidays, and they would be excused.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. You were posing Catholic again, right?
Yeah. Man, I just, like a lot of people, I discovered you in Dangerous Toys. And that was around the time I was kind of coming of age, wanting to be in a rock band and playing. And the fact that you guys were from Texas just kind of made it seem attainable to me. Before that, you were in a band called Watchtower.
That makes me feel really good to hear that. Still to this day,
Man,
what these guys are local. How can a local band be on MTV? That's fucked up.
Yeah, and thriving on MTV.
That's a really cool. That's great.
Yeah.
See, it was kind of like that in my neighborhood to see these older kids like get in a room and play a song that I knew that I had a record by a band they were covering, and they played it awesome. I'm like, whoa, you can do that? Like, the guys on these records are not magicians, like I said earlier. How does Black Sabbath make that sound? How is Rush making that sound? Whoa, that's only 3 guys. How are they doing? What? This is alchemy. This is evil. Yeah. And I love it. I want to know how to do this.
I always thought if my parents didn't like it, it was good.
Well, that's kind of true.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, man. I'm 50, but every time I plug in my guitar, one of the first riffs I play is Teasin' Pleasin'.
Nice.
But before,
well, it's an augmented Chuck Berry riff too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Before that, you were in Watchtower, and before the internet, before everything, I saw Watchtower. Dangerous Toys was already breaking, but I saw Watchtower at a place in Dallas called On the Rocks. We specifically went to go see Ron Zombak play. He was like this myth, We just had to see this guy who was playing these crazy things. It was later that I found out you were the original singer for Watchtower. Man, what did Dangerous Toys have that made you leave Watchtower to do Dangerous Toys full time?
There's a little bit of regret, but I was growing as a singer and as a musician, and it wasn't a thing where the grass is going to be greener. I know it. It wasn't that. But I don't think I wanted to flip burgers anymore. And I didn't want to go to college.
Yeah.
And it could have been financial reasons because, I had money all of a sudden, and I didn't really do anything different other than, here's another thing too is, and I sometimes forget this, is I was recording songs I wrote. And in Watchtower, I had been performing and recording songs those guys wrote.
Okay.
And so there's a little, touches and little bits of all of the, you can stir what the 2 or 3 things I just answered with. And those would be one big reason why. My own personality was starting to become something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's unfortunate that Guns N' Roses was, becoming the new flavor of the week, and that I had red hair, tattoos, and I sang real high. And that was a realization that all the labels were looking for cookie cutter shit, but that's how that business works anyway. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's terrible, but that was neither here nor there for whatever reason. And it was emotional having to come up with reasons why, even whether they were legit and on my terms or not. But Watchtower was moving slowly. I was a little bit bummed that we had lost the original guitar player, Billy White, but I can't control that. And Billy White was a magician, just like Jarzambek, and Billy and Ronnie were friends and had mutual respect because they both had their own style. It was way outer space. But neither of them sounded alike,
Yeah.
And I was out, we were all bummed that Billy White left. And there's a lot of hardcore Watchtower fans that only liked the first record, that only liked, Jason's Watchtower and not Alan's Watchtower. And I'm the guy that helped Alan get the gig. I don't know if you know that, but when I was leaving, I called Alan immediately. Dude, you need to get to Texas and take my place in Watchtower. And he was sort of in between things. And he ended up calling me back a couple of months later. Hey, you got that number? You got Doug's number? And I'm like, I knew he'd come around. Thank God, just because I knew that I needed him to take my place in Watchtower, and he made it work. And those guys never thanked me for being the plugging that them in with Alan,
Yeah.
And wasn't looking for a pat on the back or a thank you, but it's interesting that they just ended up with him and became this continued phenomenon with Ron. And Ron changed the game a little bit in the tone of the band, I really think. I mean, the older material that I was doing, and dude, I was in the band when I say we, I do mean me, because the melody lines, I mean, I wrote those.
Yeah.
If you call that melody, I wrote those. The cadence and phrasing of those lyrics, that whether Billy and Doug or Ron and Doug wrote those lyrics, those are mine. Never got paid, never was credited for anything. Never got any, didn't know to say, well, the lyrics are yours, but those phrasing and melody, that's me.
Yeah.
You're not writing those melodies. You're framing a song, and you're telling me where, but you're not telling me what notes to sing or what cadence.
Yeah, that's all
anyway,
you.
Enough about that. Yeah, enough about that. So I had created this thing with Watchtower, for Watchtower, before Alan came in. And what I was saying is the Control and Resistance record, those are my phrases. That's my cadence. I wrote that for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. I was. There's a record called. It's out of print. There's a record called Demonstrations in Chaos, and it has demo versions of it. 4 of the songs that are on Control. One of them being Control and Resistance. There's a live version of a song called Cathode Ray Window, which I don't even remember if that's on the Control record with Alan or not. But there's a bunch of songs that are live. The Eldritch Instruments of Random Murder, there's those demos for those. Those are all on this record called Demonstrations in Chaos, live versions and demos and stuff but it's all me. And it's focused mainly on Control and Resistance songs. And there's at least 7 of the songs from Control, with me singing them from years prior to that record existing.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot of history. 7 or 8 years I was in Watchtower. It was a big undertaking. I was the guy that answered all the fan mail. I was the guy that sent cassette tape demos to underground fanzines and created the underground world that was introduced. I introduced Watchtower to the world via
the tape trading
fanzines, underground fanzines, and tape trading. Exactly. I was on that highway, and it was after I left, which would have been late 80s, of course, that Doug took that over. But by that time, the landscape was changing anyway, but he took over, and Doug is real smart, super talented, intelligent, hyper intelligent personality. And he started a newsletter, and, he did it right. He did it. He took everything that I had done and sort of filtered it into something that was probably looked a little bit more professional. Mm-hmm. And I just frantically wrote every magazine, every address in the back of heavy metal magazines I could find, and sent them a Watchtower demo that had been burned over, probably a Duran Duran tape.
with the tape on the back, so you could record over it.
Yep. See, you're of age. You know what I'm talking about. So,
well, so Dangerous Toys is breaking. You got the video on MTV. Yep. You're touring. Who is the first hero of yours that you meet as a peer?
Wow. Shit. I don't know, because I mean, an unsung hero at that point would have probably been Max Norman, who produced a record.
Mm-hmm.
He did this little song called Crazy Train. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but
I think I have.
Yeah. And so when you're having dinner every day with that guy, you're going, holy shit. Tell us another Randy Rhoads story, Uncle Max, Tell us another Ozzy story, Tell us the one about Ozzy puking in the bucket between takes, standing at the microphone, Holy moly. It was probably Max, but we were in the studio recording that at the infamous Sound City, where every holy grail of heavy metal has ever been recorded. Nevermind was recorded there.
Yeah.
Holy Diver was recorded there. I'll stop. Rick Rubin was in like Studio A, and we were in Studio B, and he was in there with a band called Wolf's Bane.
Yeah.
English band that had Blaze Bayley, who took Bruce's place in Iron Maiden for a little while. Yeah. So we were hanging with those guys every day. They were crazy. And I remember helping Rick Rubin steal snacks out of the vending machines at Sound City. Like, I would have my arm stuck up the hole, and he'd be leaning the thing over, shaking the machine, trying to get those snacks to fall out. It's fucking hilarious. But stuff like that was happening like almost daily. And so, I don't know, meeting heroes, that's, I wasn't meeting Gene Simmons and Elton John and shit like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Did you eventually meet
Elton John and Gene Simmons?
Yeah.
I met Gene Simmons at a fundraiser years later, and it was kind of like shaking hands with a tree. He was very uninterested,
He didn't charge you?
No, he didn't charge me, so I felt good about that. And I didn't get to really fanboy out on him like he probably would have liked me to. And it wasn't really one-on-one. It's like, here's this gang of dudes with their publicists being introduced to Gene and Paul in a bowling alley, which had been cleared out because it was a fundraisers. It was at this big sports complex in LA County somewhere, I believe. And they were just part of the talent, and my drummer Mark from the Toys was on a softball team with like Janie Lane from Warrant, and Alice Cooper was the team captain. And, so it was fun, but, people could buy a ticket and go and sit in the stands, and there were vendors, and all the money was going to this Save the Kids thing, TJ Martell Foundation. That's exactly what it was. I can't believe I remember that. Anyway,
it's amazing the things that just pop in your head, huh?
Oh, dude, especially at I'm looking at 60 years old coming up here in a couple of years. So yeah, I mean, I'm taking Prevagen. so anyway, I'm not even kidding. Which is even funnier. I like the orange and the cherry. Okay, so no, not properly meeting my idols. No.
Right on.
Too bad, because I would really love to fanboy out, because I think that they would love to hear me just tell them how they are gods and they're magicians, and I lost my mind, and I wanted to thank them for that, because they're I know they're humans, and they are not perfect by any means, but it would be cool. It would just be too much. Is it too much to ask the universe? Can I have coffee with Gene Simmons for 10 minutes just so I can fanboy out on him? I'm sure he would love for me to stroke his ego. So,
yeah.
But Elton would be somebody I would love to meet. Too late to meet Freddie. But tea with Elton, 10 minutes, that's all I need. Here's this Elton story, though. I did not meet Elton, but this 6 degrees of separation. I'm on tour, first Dangerous Toys tour. We go through Denver, Colorado, like 8 times on one U.S. tour. Because it's the middle of the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going left and right and left and up and down and left. It's right, kind of right in the middle. And we go through with LA Guns, and we go through with the Cult, and we go through with Judas Priest, and we go through on our own like 3 or 4 times. Well, you start meeting the rockers. You start meeting the kids who are going to college there who might be from LA or something. Well, turns out a young lady named Jody Hamilton was a big fan, and her and her friends would come see us play all the time. And, there's not really any story other than that. She wasn't like, personally hanging out with anyone in the band. She just became a fan, and we saw her all the time. Jody Hamilton. So her father is George Hamilton, the actor.
Uh-huh.
You know who George Hamilton is?
The very tanned actor.
Yes. Million movies, tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
His wife at the time was Carol Burnett.
Wow.
That's her mom. Her mom was Carol Burnett. Her dad was George Hamilton. Her name is Jody Hamilton. So Jody Hamilton, who I believe married someone in a rock band. I can't remember who it is. But anyway, Jody, super cool. Her godfather is Jim Neighbors. Gomer Pyle. Her godfather is Jim Neighbors. I'm like, what the fuck? She's telling stories and shit. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. And I get this tattoo on my torso from neck to junk. And it's a piece derived from Elton John, Captain Fantastic, and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. Because I'm a fucking fan, dude.
All right.
And it's like Jody sees me putting the salve on it because it hurts like a motherfucker. And I'm putting, goo on it so I can get out of bed, so I can walk and eat breakfast, because it fucking hurts. It's new.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, this 2 foot long, wide tattoo on my chest. And Jody's like, holy shit, what is that from? I'm like, it's from Elton John, Captain Fantastic. And she's like, oh my God, you're an Elton John fan? I'm like, oh, dude, you don't know. I love this record. It changed my life. She's like, check your mailbox in about 6 weeks. I'm like, okay, that's fucking weird. So I give her my address, check your mailbox in about 6 weeks. I forgot about it. So I'm off the road for a few days and yada, yada, yada. And there's some mail for me, and there's a manila envelope. Turns out that Jim Neighbors and Elton have the same management. Howard Rose Management, I think is what it was called at the time. And that was the return address, Howard Rose. And I didn't know what the fuck that was. So I open it up, autographed glossy 8x10 of Elton. To Jason, best wishes, Elton John. That's as close as I ever got to meeting Elton.
That's pretty amazing, though.
But it's pretty legit, though, for that to just show up in my mailbox via Jody Hamilton, making a phone call. Hey, Papa Jim, calling Jim Neighbors.
Yeah, can you do me a favor?
Yeah, exactly. Can you call Elton? And I got this buddy, and he's a big fan. And oh yeah, no problem. Making shit happen, getting shit done. Jody Hamilton,
right on.
Daughter of Carol Burnett and George Hamilton. What the fuck? It's surreal. Can't make it up. Couldn't make that up. Put it in a movie to save my life.
Yeah, sometimes you meet good people on the road.
Yeah. Well, shit, a lot of times I don't have any regrets at all. We were treated pretty well by the bands we were supporting. Sorry for the allergies I keep having to clear my throat. It's terrible.
That's cool, man. You have the distinct pleasure of being asked to audition for two pretty big time bands, man. Pantera and Skid Row. Who were you asked to audition after Sebastian left Skid Row?
Yes.
And you turned both of them down.
I was on list number 1, right?
Uh-huh.
Rachel and Snake thought I would be a good number 2, you know? And I love them for that, for thinking that highly of me, because those are gigantic shoes to fill, being that Sebastian was highly popular because of his looks and his vocal ability, of course. And the fact that he's such a big heavy metal advocate, I really admire that about Sebastian. I think he's a little wackadoo. I think he's kind of crazy. Maybe he has good moments and bad moments, but and I see some good moments once in a while. And I don't know Sebastian, but we know of each other. We've been in the same room before and have acknowledged each other, but that's the end of that.
Right.
Yeah, Snake called me 2 times. First time was like, "Hey, it's Snake. You into this?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know. We just wrote a bunch of songs. We're gonna make this record, and I'm kind of between things and blah." I kind of hem-hawed and like skated around the idea, and then he called a week later. That call was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to do?" And I was like, "Man, I really appreciate it. God damn, I don't know." And he's like, "Okay." And I feel like it would have been a money grab, and I just would have been in the shadows of Sebastian the whole time, and that would have been hard.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to be in a Skid Row tribute band. If I was going to be in a band singing other material, not my material, I think it would be, I would want to be in AC/DC.
Yeah.
I would have loved to got that call. But Axl did an awesome fucking job.
He did,
God
didn't
damn,
he?
He killed it. He fucking killed it. I don't know about the weird, sombrero thing that he's got going on, but I'll tell you this. The guy came back and just destroyed. That guy is an anomaly. He's really perfected his range. His voice seemed to be hurting for a little while. That's not, I'm not making that up. You can find videos from the 90s where he was hurting a little bit.
Yeah.
But holy moly, you just dial up that AC/DC footage right now, and he's just fucking destroying that shit.
I know. I watched some of that footage, and I thought, of course he was the guy. Like after hearing it. Of course he was.
No brainer. Yeah. He sings Thunderstruck better than the studio version of Brian singing it.
Yeah.
I'll stand by those words. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those guys were cool enough to think of me and call me, and I love that, but I'm not the guy. I wasn't the guy. And you could say the same about the Pantera thing a handful of years later. I mean, earlier, sorry. When Terry Glaze left, I was just not the guy. They were, part of it had to do with, those guys being, me being in a thrash band at the time. Those guys were kind of a glam band.
Mm-hmm.
And the funniest part of that whole thing is the role reversal that both myself and they had taken. It's like Terry Glaze could have been singing for Dangerous Toys.
Yeah.
Pantera was writing Def Leppard and Poison kind of shit before they wrote anything remotely close to power metal.
Yeah.
Which was the record that they were working on at the time.
Yeah.
Not Cowboys from Hell. And people need to realize that.
Yeah, we heard the Come On Eyes and that that type of shit.
Yeah. I Am the Night, and Power Metal were the records that were starting to form what would become Cowboys from Hell. And those records are still a bit, Anselmo with big hair.
Yeah.
It's true. People can find it right now. So I was still in Watchtower. I had just lost Billy White. I was trying to save the band. I was begging Jarzambek to do it. We were about to go out to, dude, that was in 86. Yeah, it's completely nuts to put it in perspective and think 86, god damn, we were children,
May 10th, 1986, I went to my first concert ever. It was,
Wow.
I went to see Ozzy at the Tarrant County Convention Center, and a band called Metallica was opening up for him.
Yeah, good for you. I saw that show. I saw that show in Austin at the Frank Irwin Center.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with those guys with Metallica all day and all night that day.
Right on, man. How did you get involved with the School of Rock?
That's quite a jump in my career. 2005, the phone rings, and it's my buddy Rick Carney, who had a friend up north somewhere, maybe in Pennsylvania or Illinois or something, who was running one of the schools up there, and I think it was one of the corporate schools, because there's only a handful of corporate schools even to this day. The rest of them are all franchise, like Dairy Queen or some shit.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's great. It's a great program. It's a great idea. It's saving rock and roll. Here, they used to have an old slogan, the school did. It was called "Saving Rock and Roll One Kid at a Time." Isn't that badass?
Yeah.
So badass. Saving rock and roll one kid at a time. They have something new now that I don't particularly like. I think it's a cop-out. The new slogan is, "We make musicians." Lame. So lame. Well, you know why they changed it is because it's popular that we have an adult program now, which I've been running for a decade at the school now.
Okay.
So, 2005, Rick Carney calls me and he's, "Hey, I'm starting a School of Rock here, corporate company, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to be my vocal instructor?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, what? Teach someone how to do this? I barely know how I'm pulling it off. How am I going to, come up with curriculum and blah?" And he was just like, total confidence in me. "You'll figure it out." I did. I don't know. Fuck it. Just do it. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll wing it." Yeah, just wing it till you figure it out. So there you go. He had a small crew, and he had signups, but he hired me, and then the first 2 months there was no vocal students. So I was hired, and then didn't even go to work until he had some vocal students. So I started off with one or two, and then it just, grew and grew. And then, now it's this phenomenon, it's crazy.
Yeah.
16 years later, it's nuts. It saved me. The job saved me. I mean, I don't know what the world thinks, but if they think I'm sitting around just waiting for that $200 check every quarter, I only get 4 of those a year from mechanicals and satellite radio. It ain't much. A couple grand a year is not my income. I can't live off of that.
Yeah.
Just so the world knows, Dangerous Toys we didn't sell quite enough records to be able to, sit in a throne. So, we have to be creative and work and do things that, everyone does.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Everyone does. Some people in the biggest bands that you like, they do other shit,
Yeah, that's I try, and in my line of work, I'm a tech, and I have folks that think, "Oh, you work for Duran Duran, so you're probably rich." Like, no, man. Like when they don't play, I don't get paid.
Yeah, it's a hustle. You're
Yeah.
not on retainer for the same reason that I'm not on retainer.
Yeah. It's feast and famine.
They're-
Feast or famine.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's a hustle. You're on the street. Well, not the proverbial anyway.
Yeah.
You're on the phone and you're emailing and you're looking for that email that never comes, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of disheartening, but we make it work, don't we?
Yeah. We have to, man.
Yeah, that's right.
I consider us lifers. Yeah, this is what we
Yeah,
do.
that's right. That's exactly right. That's the when you look at my profile, that's pretty much what my profile says. It has one word, and that word is lifer.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of the state of rock? What do you think of bands like Greta Van Fleet, Dirty Honey, bands like that?
I think that they're amazing. In a word, I don't own any of their material. I don't sit around and listen to internet radio, any kind of radio, because, and hopefully some people can forgive me and relate to this. Music is my life, so I'm around it 24/7. I'm writing it, I'm producing it, I'm singing it, I'm playing it, I'm teaching it, I'm performing it, I'm touring and doing all of those in a weekend. The last thing I want to do is turn on the radio and be this is too harsh of a word, but forced to listen to something that I don't want to listen to.
No,
even if it's my favorite fucking song.
No, I get it, man.
But I listen to vinyl. I put vinyl on once in a while. When I want to hear music, it's usually off from vinyl because there's a ritual in there. And I know a lot of like younger generation are like, man, why would anyone want to do that when I can just press a button on my phone and hear whatever I want? SEC, well, that's not a ritual. That's like a brat.
Yeah.
I want to hear, bang, and they press a button and they, yay.
That's the Veruca Salt.
Fuck. Wow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for all you Willy Wonka fans, right?
I want it now.
The 90s, not the 90s band of the same name, right?
Yeah. Man, I've been a fan of yours, like I said, since I was a kid, teenager. I watched you fly that flag all over the world. The Texas flag being, what was it like?
Yeah, did you notice the Texas pants that I had?
Oh yeah, dude.
That were hilarious.
Like I said, you guys were heroes to us, man. You guys, we used to go see Pantera, but you guys were, you guys hit before Pantera, and we were like, Texas is just one big backyard. You guys were just from Austin, and you were on MTV. And you were singing a song about Alice Cooper. Like, you weren't too cool to sing a song about one of your dudes,
Oh, shit, no. I have no problem wearing it on my sleeve, I call it, right?
Yeah.
The Texas flag, I was wearing the flag on my crotch, and I was wearing everything that I do was all about my surroundings and belief. And it's not overt pride. I would say it's more like y'all should check this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, rock and roll can be from Texas. It's not just cowboys down here.
I know, right? Well, Jason, man, thank you so much for taking the time today and talking to me. Where can people find you online on social media? Do you do any of that?
Well, I have a podcast. So people should subscribe to my podcast. It's called the Talk Louder Podcast. They can go to talklouderpodcast.com. We're on Instagram. We're on all that shit. We just shot our 85th episode. We've been at it for a little over a year now. We just had Max Cavalera from Sepultura fame.
Yeah.
We've had Ripper Owens. We've had Danko Jones. We've had two members from Saxon. We've had Nashville Pussy. We've had it just goes and goes and goes and goes. It's been a lot of fun. I have a website that's not updated. I apologize. jasonmcmaster.net. And that's kind of like a hub. They can read about a lot of bands that are current and that are also sort of not current. But they can find that material for sale. I put out a lot of records.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle of recording the second release by a group from New Jersey called Cassius King, Cass.
I've heard of them. That's where I live now, is in New Jersey.
Oh, you're in Jersey? Okay, what part?
I live in Jersey City.
Wow.
I just moved here a month ago from Denton, Texas.
Holy, wow. Well, the main writer, his name is Dan Lorenzo, and he's kind of a big deal in the Jersey area. But yeah, he was the guitar player in Hades, and Hades is the band that Alan Tecchio sang for before he joined Watchtower.
Oh, right on.
Hades was this kind of like a fairly progressive metal band from the Jersey metal scene, Overkill, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And they were right between Alan Tecchio and Mike Portnoy, who's from Long Island, I believe. I was getting mail from those guys as early as 85 and 86 about Watchtower. They loved Watchtower. And that's how I found out what a Mike Portnoy is. Mike Portnoy was writing me when his band was called Majesty, pre-Dream Theater. And they found the Watchtower record and their minds were blown. And that's how I'm in touch with him. And Alan Tecchio and the Hades guys the same. So it's funny how Alan sings for my old band, and I sing for his old band. Kind of, we joke about it. That like within a span of 40 fucking years. So that 6 degrees of separation that shit is real.
I don't know, man. I'll have to check that out.
It's great. Yeah, it's crazy. Cassius King's kind of a Sabbath vibe. The first record did pretty good. The first record's called Field Trip, and it's on Nomad Eel Records. And we have a new single out called Bad Man Down. And you can find it on all platforms. And we're in the middle of the newest record right now. I'm also writing with the toys. It's really slow. Everyone should stop asking us when that's going to come out, because it might never.
Yeah.
But we do have new material. I'm going to write with my band Broken Teeth again real soon. Broken Teeth's been around since 1999, and people still call it my new band. It's kind of funny. We have about 8 or 9 records out. I've lost count, but most of those are available. BrokenTeeth.com. But I'm on the Facebook more than I'm on the Twitter and the Instagram, just because I don't really know how to tweet or Insta.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. I don't know. Facebook is, you just press buttons.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I finally got the balls to message you. I don't have very much confidence. So I sat around it. Then I go, you know what? The worst he could do is say no.
No, you asked some good questions, and you people always like to bring up the Skid Row Pantera thing, and that's okay. Probably people from the Pantera camp and the Skid Row camp probably balk at that a little bit, but it's true stories, and it's part of my book that'll never come out called Stories of a Texas Metalhead. So I'm gonna get asked about it anyway.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you being patient with that. I got one more question for you, Jason.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
My podcast, it's called Is Breakfast Included? And if it was included, what would you have?
Oh, I'm a meat and potatoes guy, so it would be similar to the IHOP 2-egg breakfast, scrambled white toast with butter, 2 pieces of bacon, but spinach mixed in. That's how it might be different. So it's basically a spinach omelet, and spinach and cheese, eggs, bacon, toast, coffee. That's probably my favorite part of the day. My favorite meal of the day, actually,
Yeah, likewise.
is eating that breakfast. Something about that salt
First
and
thing in the
that,
morning.
the salt. Oh, dude, just stun your cholesterol. It's like masturbation or something. It's like what the you're fucking hitting yourself in the jaw with a brick. It's not healthy meal at all, but it'll wake you up.
Well, that's great,
So
man.
that's what I like. Is breakfast included? Yeah, and the continental breakfast at like hotels and shit, that just sucks ass. It's terrible.
You're telling me,
So
man.
terrible. I know you know all about it. It's like dry muffins and cereal and what?
The boiled eggs that have been sitting in that
Yeah,
that juice.
yeah. And there's a nice like foray of baskets with dried up old muffins in them. Terrible. Can't
man.
put enough butter on those to make them work. Sucks.
Well, man, I appreciate your time, and man, good luck with everything you're doing. Keep me informed on that Cassius Kings.
Yeah, it's around. We try to tweet about it and we try to talk about it. It's not a touring project. It's like a studio thing. Interesting factoid is we're already working on the album cover. And the first album cover was done by the same guy. It's Claudio Bergaman, who did Judas Priest Firepower.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of cool stuff. I can't talk about it. I've been sworn to secrecy, but he did the album cover for a band called Classic 78. Have you seen that? You know who that is?
No.
They sound a lot like Kiss, but it's all original material. I think Charlie Benante from Anthrax plays in that band now. It's really cool. You should check it out.
Classic 78. I'll check it out.
Yeah, Classic with a K. You'll laugh because the singer's like singing like Paul Stanley, like exactly like him. Sounds exactly like Paul Stanley, like all the time on purpose. And then the next song will be like sound like Ace Frehley or something, but they're singing exactly like Ace Frehley, but it's not a Kiss song. It's pretty great. So it's kind of a bag, they're having fun doing this thing, but it's highly popular.
Right on, man.
Kind of like Greta Van Fleet. Kind of sounds like someone you like, on purpose.
And it's really
all
popular.
The time. Yeah, that's really popular. That's hey, well the real guys ain't really doing it anymore. So
and people want to hear
that. Yeah, that's right. Kind of like Broken Teeth. Sort of sounds like band from down under, like quite a bit, like on purpose. Jason, that sounds a lot like ACD. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm glad that you get the joke. Yes. Do you like ACDC? Oh, I love ACDC. Great. Thanks. Awesome. BrokenTeeth.com, if you will. Bernie, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and stay in touch.
Thank you for your time. Definitely, me. I will stay in touch. If we make it down to Austin, I'll give you a call.
Yeah, and if you know anybody, maybe Duran autograph glossy will end up in my mailbox if you know someone.
Hey, man, text me your address.
Okay, Jody Hamilton. I will, dude. That would be awesome to have a glossy signed by Duran. Rad. That would be insane, dude.
All right, brother. Take care.
See, yeah, bye-bye.
Right on. Jason McMaster. That was like really badass for me, a kid who came of age in the 80s. And like I said, Dangerous Toys were a huge influence on everything I did at the time and even now. And I wasn't lying. Anytime I pick up a guitar, I go into Tease and Pleasing. You can find him online, Jason McMaster 666 on Instagram, Jason McMaster on Facebook. He has a website, jasonmcmaster.net, that is keeping you updated on everything. Has a link to his podcast, the Talk Louder podcast. You should check it out. It's really cool. If you're a metal enthusiast or just a metal music fan, you need to check it out. Well, all right, guys, I am done. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you next week.